We saw the one that just got whatever taken down. How long does that fucking take? From start to finish, like how long will it take you to do this mural, and what are the stages that we're going to go through before we get ready for Miami?
The one that just got painted over, I drew it 2 hours before I went out there, and I'm not the only one that painted it. I'm not the only artist.
Yeah, you had a team attack. I saw it on the Instagram.
Miss Reds is a world-renowned graffiti writer. Wonder is an incredible cartoonist and graffiti writer. And Juan Fuentes is this city's premier photographer. And those were my friends that were just like, yeah, we'll go. We'll support you with this. We'll help you, you know. Crush even paid for Reds to come out. You know, they flew her out and they put her up and everything. And so I drew it. We went out there, started painting it at like 3 a.m, and we were done by like, I don't know, like by sun came
day?
up. Yeah, it
So
took like
just team attack it with
four
like...
or 5 hours. We just went out there. I drew it. I went out. I sketched it on the wall. Everybody just filled in. I had my drawing color coordinated already, and yeah, so we just knocked it out. It was real easy. That was real quick. It wasn't about creating like a very well illustrated, beautiful picture.
So what about this one? What are we going to do on this wall? If I take a picture and show this on Instagram on Thursday and people listen to this episode, what will they see on this post in a couple of weeks when we share it again?
Oh man, you want to see?
And how long will it take?
This is going to probably take like 3 to 4 weeks, and it'll be it looks like a Virgin Mary, but she's actually Pachuca, which is like, you know, the zoot suiters, and you've seen the women.
Dude,
with
we
the
were
big
talking about zoot
pompadours.
suits the other day.
Well, she's like basically a female representation of a zoot suitor replacing the Virgin Mary with some quetzal birds flying below her with a banner. And yeah.
And that's gonna be spray painted?
It'll be spray paint and brush.
Oh, okay.
How many
And
different
acrylic.
mediums do you work it with? That's my art term of the day.
Yeah,
Nice.
right on.
Killed
All that? I did a
Yeah.
little research.
Roy G. Biv, remember that one?
I work in, you know, I do digital stuff. I work in pen and ink, watercolor, acrylic, airbrush, spray paint, automotive paint, sculpture.
So on those big walls, is a lot of that brushed, or is that all spray paint?
It's all spray paint.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's all spray. And if it's not spray paint, it's like exterior house paint.
I got you.
That was a bad question.
And I got
didn't do nearly enough
I got a
research.
great question.
All right.
How many spray paint cans have you stolen before, back in the day?
So that was a part of the culture from the beginning.
Stealing that shit.
Absolutely. Yep. That was a part of the culture because
It's expensive.
Well, and then all right, so you're too young to buy it. You used to have to be 18.
Shout out
you know.
to Charlie Day.
I started doing this at 12.
12?
But yeah,
Did we talk about that earlier?
and so you got to think of two original graffiti writers were stealing the paint too, kids from the Bronx or whatnot. So it became ingrained in the culture. Still a part of the culture to steal your own paint. I have now a can of paint that's painted at, which is pretty ironic, right?
He's grabbing paint off. By the way, he has thousands of canisters on this wall.
I used to still spray paint. Now there's a color available on Evolve called Jolt Smile High Green, and it's a bit of a innuendo to represent the weed in our city.
Oh, I get it.
Hold on. I heard you use the term graffiti writers. What is that?
What is it?
That's a good question. So graffiti starts out as writing. Graffiti writer, writing using typography, using your name on the trains.
Oh, getting the like kind of big styles, or
Your name and wild styles, and that's all. Graffiti writer is what it is. That's the term. And
Okay.
then graffiti artists came along later with graffiti moving from the trains into the galleries, into legal walls, things like that. That almost becomes a predecessor for street artists. And then now what you ended up with many, many years later is some like nerd from the suburbs painting some bullshit.
So but do graffiti writers get out there and fucking? I mean, like, are they painting like big mural pieces or?
Well, you know, the art
It's more of a message. Isn't
The
it?
art of graffiti, true graffiti writing is letters, abstracted letters.
Okay.
And but it's deep. It's not, I know on the surface it sounds like, oh, someone's just writing their name. But think about like the evolution of the alphabet. Think about like how many times have you seen letters that are still legible, can still be read, become developed in a point where they're abstracted. Like they're symbols.
Right.
It's about sometimes
No,
you.
yeah.
how
Some
that
stoner
was
shit. We're
developed.
talking about a Germanic language. There's these symbols at the end
No,
of the
I hear
day, and they represent different things, and we haven't added any new symbols to that. So we're kind of confined to this alphabet that we use for our linguistics. So graffiti writers are adding to that. And in case, like, okay, so Gothic writing was developed by Buddhist monks who were breaking away from confines and trying to change their language and their symbols. So when you think about graffiti writers abstracting these letters on the level that they've come to, it's a pretty dope, like, contemporary and traditional form of art, like, coexisting. So that's graffiti writing.
Okay. Solid. Did not know that.
Yeah, but that was back-to-back good questions from you. And we have kind of evolved as a language. You remember it's A-E-I-O-U, sometimes Y. Y, sometimes vowel. That's a pretty good translation right there. Okay, so we've gotten into some pretty stoner shit, so it makes me want to get back on pace for a second, just for a second, because I thought this was a great pun, but we got questions from the gallery. Get it? Art gallery? It's a pun. So we asked some folks online that obviously everything's been going on. We wanted to know what they wanted to ask, folks that may know a little bit more about the art scene. And this questions from the gallery is brought to you by our friends at Veritas. It's the finest cannabis in Denver. I think we could all vouch for it. The cookies company that they grow for just opened a new location on South Broadway. The lines are 2 hours long, but by the time you get down there, wade through it, get you some weed. Veritas is growing it. So any place you can get cookies, you can get Veritas. I recommend the Veritas brand. All right, first question. You ready?
Yep.
This one is from Crown and Albrook. How do we control the economy within the art scene and community? It's a loaded one. I don't know anything about it.
Well, it's important that people from within the community, everybody profiting off of it should be from that community then, if you want to control it. So you can't just show at a gallery that's going to take half your money that's not somebody of the community. Help a gallery that's coming up. Show there. You know what I mean? Bring your collectors there. Help to support those that are from here. But you have to do it all the way through. Your photographers that you hire to come and document the pieces, they should be of the community as well. The liquor company that's being present there the night of the opening should be a local company that's trying to come up, and you should be supporting them. You have to do it like that, and then you create an industry. Unionizing wouldn't be a bad idea either. Whoa. Against certain, things, like talking about like maybe artists that could create unions that have felt a certain way by the crush thing or things like that. There's opportunity there too, where there's long-term support for industry and community to come up.
Interesting. I wouldn't have thought of the artist community as one that would want to unionize, much less be in favor of unionization. But now that you made me think about it, I guess if you're getting kind of, some people are getting, like you mentioned, paid heavily over the top, and then some are not getting even recognized at all. Again, that's just totally out of my league, but I wouldn't have thought that at all, so I just wasn't sure.
Something I was thinking, like, something that could have been done too. I mean, which may not alleviate everything, but if they did like rent control for artists that were in the area, like back when you had your studio, if they allowed, like, even if they were going to redevelop the building, like if they gave like
that 1% that's also going to
something
like give another percent.
You know what I'm saying?
I believe that's been explored. There is things like Redline does things where they give residencies, and there's been conversations about that. There's the Temple, and I believe that maybe they keep art affordable, and there is people that have attempted to do that. That's what was told to me plenty of times before, and then that wasn't the case. Also,
see, I feel like redlining is probably the last thing you'd want to happen, isn't it? Isn't that a problem? Is that the same redlining as I'm thinking about?
Red line. Sorry,
okay.
that's
sorry. I was like timeout.
No.
That doesn't sound like a good. Okay, sorry. I was thinking politics. I was like timeout.
No, not that.
Okay. Well, if you'd like to elaborate, you can. But we'll go on to the next question. This one is from either L or I Grimm. What can transplant artists do to show respect to the Denver arts roots and their community?
I think just going into a community and feeling that you have the right to put art on the wall is something that artists need to question within themselves. Do I deserve to come in here and put my art on the wall? Who am I painting on the walls? Like, am I going into this community and painting figures that don't even have any sort of identity there within that community. So then you're changing it. Or are you as an artist, like even if you're doing abstract stuff, like what do you represent? And is your representation what that community needs? Do you have the right to put your work there? There is such a thing as paying dues. That's always been hood culture, having respect in the community. When I say hood, I'm talking about every inner city neighborhood of Denver. You know, there's always been a respect that you don't just kind of throw anything anywhere. You have to understand that everybody's there coexisting.
If somebody wanted to get into the game, let's say that Kip wanted to break into the game. He's got a trigger finger for paint, and he's got terrible, terrible artistic ability. I have no artistic ability. How would one want to possibly get into the game, or break bread, or get into the scene, meet a neighborhood? How does one get into the game?
I know how
Even
people
if you're
do
like
it.
A transplant from
I know how people
Miami.
do it, and I wouldn't necessarily suggest it because as I had expressed, my way of getting into the game, so to speak, was very organic.
Yeah.
It was in my front.
Yeah.
It was in my household. It was in my neighborhood. It was in my community. So that was just. So I don't know how you do it.
Let's say if they came from Charlotte, but they also kind of have it in their blood. But they're like, well, I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes, but I would love to kind of. I'm sure that there's is there a Facebook group or a Reddit I need to follow? How does someone get into that? That's the widest way to describe it.
There is a whole bunch of new artists that pop up on the scene every year. You know, Denver's a very popular destination, and people come to Denver, and they bring their fucking boring with them, and they add it to the walls. And
Shout out to Iowa.
You know, upstate everywhere is here now. It's seriously, and in a sense, it becomes like the white man's Shangri-La here, man, and it gets really boring. And
so,
these are things we can talk about.
But I mean, like, if an artist was coming in, should they like reach out to local artists and just like talk with them, or should they just stay the fuck out?
Well, I think they should just stay the fuck out. I think that's, and I know that sounds really uninviting, and it makes me sound like an asshole, but
do it in your own city.
I mean, I don't know but I think when you show up into a community unwelcomed, and you just start to.
He's gonna get a frozen beer. Yeah. Don't even know it. Oh.
Yo, when you just start to throw your stuff on the wall. So, but you know, skill goes a long way, and if you're good at what you do, you can do it anywhere. And I think that along with that skill, you have to accompany some consciousness with it, and you know, some sense about where you're at.
Well, I feel like you can also see, like, I'm not going to say different styles, but different, I guess, artists that all kind of have different backgrounds, but obviously have all been able to kind of come together in a niche or in a community. And so I guess it's just trying to find a way to either break bread and kind of mend in and then kind of make yourself known, but otherwise probably just kind of lay low for a little while and earn your stripes, I guess would be.
I think you got to pay your dues. I think you've got to.
I just don't know. I think I'm out, guys. I don't think I have a chance here. I was trying to figure out an answer. I just don't.
You get attacked. No, you're no
I think that it takes a long time, though. I think just to show up and do that is not the way to have some longevity, because people are conscious of them kind of moves. We've seen those type of artists over and over again, and there's not a lot of longevity there because that art starts to represent new Denver or something foreign, or it doesn't feel organic, like I said. So it.
All right, I'm out. It's okay. You didn't discourage me. I still believe deep in my heart that I have it. But
well, I mean,
we both know I don't.
Maybe so it's just like
that was a tangent hypothetical.
You were talking about how some of these like artists that are doing these things aren't street artists or aren't graffiti, you know, or whatever. But like maybe they don't know the underwritten rules within the street art.
It's true, they don't, but it's there. It's been well documented. Yeah. You can as anything that you're going to dedicate to be your new career or your new path of expression, you should research it in its entirety. You should have some sort of understanding. And that's not just with, you know, street art, but if you're talking about street culture, you definitely should know what you're talking about before you put yourself in the streets. And that should be common sense.
No, I have that common sense.
No, I'm not saying to you, but to,
I get that as I wear my furry swatter.
No, to anybody listening, though, because there's many elements of street culture and street life, and you don't just assert yourself into that.
Yeah.
That could be dangerous.
I like it. Okay, so a little bit of, that was a good word of advice and a forewarning for Kip. This next question is from, I can't tell if these are numbers or letters, so it's D. Lewis something. What is the next neighborhood you fear will be grasped by the same people or concepts? I'm guessing they're
I
talking
hate
about
to
Denver.
say so.
Don't say
Almost.
East Colfax. It'll break Chris's heart.
No, I almost hate to say so because is there developers listed?